Hello, you're watching CNN. I'm Natalie Allen with the hour's top stories. Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi has invited his political opponents to meet today at the presidential palace. They're unhappy with the draft constitution, which they say ignores some basic rights. A referendum on that proposed constitution is set for December 15th, but might be postponed. Fighting in Syria has intensified near the capital, Damascus. Opposition groups say 43 people were killed there on Friday. Nearly 100 more people died across the country. 2 Australian disc jockeys are off the air until further notice after their prank on the hospital treating Prince William's wife turned tragic. One of the nurses who took their call apparently committed suicide on Friday. The radio network CEO says the DJs are deeply shattered by what happened. Internet software pioneer John McAfee is being allowed to stay in Guatemala until his immigration case is heard. He is wanted in Belize for questioning about his neighbor's death. That's the latest. I'm Natalie Allen. Up next, hear the touching story of a chain reaction of goodwill. It spanned the globe and changed one boy's life. It's Operation Hope, a CNN Freedom Project documentary.
This is probably one of the most severe non-war injuries that I've ever seen in a human being. You just can't imagine another human being doing this to another human being, frankly.
There we go. I don't know how many kids get to stand up to what he went through.
It's amazing to me that he lived. To be able to change one child's life is why you go into pediatrics.
And hopefully this will change his life in a way where I'm hoping that he has a purpose and a mission and an uplifting story at the end of it all, even though it was horrific to start with.
If he can just take some nice, good, easy breaths, he's doing beautifully. Hold his hand. Okay.
We'll see. All you can do is hope.
Abo.
At a glance, he's a typical 8-year-old boy. But look a bit closer, and you see much more. We can't show you his face, can't even reveal his name, so we're calling him Akoy, a Bengali name that means unbreakable. Fitting for a boy who survived an attack that should have killed him.
আমার গলা চিপা করছে তারপরে গলা চিপা ধইরা তারপরে হুতাইছে হুতায় তো বাঁধছে আর কই যাবো ভিক্ষা করে
Forced to beg and attacked when he refused. He was just 7 years old when it happened, the day he went missing.
গিরিবান্ধের সাইডে ওলের দ্বারা ডেলানটা বয়ে আমি চিৎকার করতেছি চিৎকার করার থেকে শব্দ শুনে হঠাৎ করে নিয়ে বলে মা ডাকতেছে
Akoy was lying in the dirt not far from his one-room home in the slums of Dhaka, Bangladesh. His body broken. A rickshaw driver himself, with no education and little money, It was the only way Akkoy's father could afford to get to the hospital.
এরপর রাত অনুমানিক রাত 12টার সময় লিস্কার করে আনা আমি এভাবে লিস্কার করে নিয়ে আসছি ওদেরই ব্লাড বাইরে জায়গা এবং রাতে ধরি আর এদিক দিয়ে দূর সম্পূর্ণ জায়গা এদিক দিয়ে ইনফুট একবারে মজুদ বাইরে গেছে গা আর এদিক দিয়ে বাইরে জায়গা রাতে দেবে রাতে দেয়.
And the final cruelty, Akkoy's penis was cut off, amputated. Nearly 2 years later, his father still feels the pain and anguish he felt that day.
যখন ওটা খাটা ওটা খাটা ওটা খাটা ওটা খাটা আর পুরুষলিঙ্গটা নাই এরপর আমি যখন দিয়ে আসমানটা আমার উপরে মাথা ভাঙ্গা পড়ছি এত পৃথিবীর মেঝে এত খারাপ আর মনে হয় যে কোনো কাজের মেঝে মনে লাগে না এত খারাপ লাগে মনটা আমার মনটা বলছে যে এই সময় আমি বাবা হয়ে ছেলে নিরাপত্তা দিতে পারলাম না এত পৃথিবীতে আর আমার আর কেউ নেই.
Security forces protect the boy now. Akkoy is the key witness in the trial of his alleged attackers, members of a gang accused of routinely kidnapping children and forcing them to beg. So the whole family lives in the care of an elite paramilitary force called Rapid Action Battalion, or RAB.
He's the only witness, not only the man, the only witness who saw everything by his own eyes. So this is very important and to protect him.
Akkoy's father longs for simpler times before the attack. He says they were poor, but happy.
আগের দিনটা ফোনটা যেন ওইটাই আমাদের খুব ভালো ছিল সারাদিন একবার খাইলো খুব ভালো ছিল এখন মনের মধ্যে এরকম একটা ভয় এর যত্ন আসি কথা ঠিক থাকলো মনে নিরাপত্তা দিতেছে ওইটা সত্য কিন্তু মনের মধ্যে যে একটা ভয়.
He could never have guessed that a complete stranger halfway around the world would be responsible for helping put his family back together again. American businessman Aram Kovac happened to be watching CNN with his wife when we reported Akkoy's story.
It's one of those stories that you almost get up off your seat to get closer to pay attention to what you're seeing because it's so horrific and so unbelievable.
5 minutes of television that would change two families' lives.
I usually don't cry over things, but when I saw this little boy, and maybe it's because I'm a father too, so watching your story really, really moved me, and it was one of those things that, you know, this is like the first time in my life that I was actually moved to do something. And that's when I reached out to CNN and said, hey, listen, you know, is there something that we can do to help him?
A simple question with huge implications. It starts a chain reaction of kindness and compassion. Back in Bangladesh, the boy's most urgent need is reconstructive surgery to rebuild his penis. A complicated operation not available in his own country. So we make a call to Johns Hopkins Children's Center, home to one of the top pediatric urologists in the United States, Dr. John Gerhardt. He immediately agreed to take the case for free.
The circumstances of the injury were really what brought it to me, that the child was taken away from his family. He was harmed by these people. I just thought it was a heart-rending story. And even though he's in Bangladesh and I'm in Baltimore, to be able to change one child's life is why you go into pediatrics.